today I'm looking at the JustArt 48 color pack of acrylic markers. And here's a couple of things that I like about the markers that I'm seeing here. Is that one, there is a number code and a name. It is only on the cap of the pen. So if you uncap a variety of them at the same time, you may have an issue of getting the right cap onto the right pen. I can't imagine that you would be leaving them uncapped for a very long period of time. In fact, it says, or it suggests, that once you're done using it, that you put the cap fully back on and you lay the pen flat. So that is telling me that it wants to be stored flat as well. I like the fact that we can see the paint traveling through this kind of chamber. I like the feel of the sponge tip. And I also like the fact that you can see the chamber here of how much paint is left in your pen. I will say that the color that I'm seeing here is slightly different from the pen itself. And if we take a look at the swatch chart, this is 154. So if I go here to where I just swatched them all, 154, if we put the pen next to it, you can see it's similar. The pen chamber looks a little lighter. The pen cap actually looks a little closer to it than the chamber. And I think it's because of the thickness of the plastic, and it may have a little bit of, it looks clear, but it may have, the chamber inside might have a little bit of white to it. So it may be adjusting the color just a tad bit, but for the most part, what I'm seeing here is what I'm seeing on the swatch chart. The other thing here about the swatch chart is that I went ahead and swatched each color carrying over the black line on each of them a little bit, so you could see how transparent or opaque each color was. Now, of course, the darker colors are more opaque than the lighter colors, but there is a bit of coverage even with the lighter colors. And I like the package that it comes in that it opens up as a threefold. So here's the first flap. It's kind of a zigzag, hard to get underneath the camera here. Here's the second section, and here is the third section. And so that is how the storage container goes, with an elastic holder in place for each of the pens. It does come, all right, so this first flaps in like so to make it a little bit more contained, but then of course you can't see the colors that are here. It does come with a handle that goes outside the zipper case, so that's nice. So you could use this if you're carrying it somewhere, although I wouldn't store it by hanging it from this because we want the pens to lay flat. And then this flips over the top, and the zipper then goes all the way around the case, making the case, just working on the zipper here, I had to push a few pens down, making the case more compact for storage, and it would like to stay flat like so. And it's to show you kind of the thickness here compared to my finger. All right, so to measure the closed case, I'm looking at about 9 inches by 6 3/4 by about 2 inches. So that's when it's all zipped up nice and tight. And the other thing I like about the color chart is that it is on a heavier cardstock. It looks like it has some texture to it, almost similar to watercolor paper. It is textured on the side that you draw on. The back side, however, is smooth. But it is a nice thick weight for your color swatching. It's also a size that fits into the case. I have other pens that I have swatched and tested, and the color swatch chart doesn't fit in the case, and so I've had to cut it down or fold it to make it fit. but this one works really, really well. And it gives you a variety of colors in each section. So if we look at the yellows here, this that they're calling golden actually looks more green to me and looks like it would go in the green family. But we've got a variety of yellows here, even into a really warm yellow. And then we've got oranges that go into reds, burgundies. They're calling it raspberry plum. You've got pinks, a variety of pinks, a few purples. Then we go into a variety of blues, a variety of greens, and then we have your neutrals over here in the last section. So the pearl white is almost like a cream looking color, where the white at the bottom is actually a pure white. So it'd be nice to see how these colors layer on top of each other. So that might be the next thing that we test out. So I just went ahead and grabbed 3 colors here. Going with our first sample of the green, I just thought we could lay some down on cardstock. And if I move quickly, you can see that I'm missing spaces. But the coverage is really nice as far as being able to fill in and cover a whole section. And then also drawing smaller, thinner lines is really nice. The coverage of filling in, I think you want to go at a slower pace just to make sure that you've got even coverage. And so if I bring this up close, it's still wet. I think you can see a little bit of the variety in the color laying down, but I have a feeling after it dries, it's going to be perfectly flat. And then when I move it in the light, I can see where there is still moisture in the color. So we definitely want that to dry before we try our light colors over the top. So I think this area here seems to be a bit more dry. So I'm going to go in with the light yellow. This is, what is this called? It's called light yellow. So let's just see how it covers. And there's no contamination here. Once it's dry, I am not seeing any contamination on the tip, which is nice. And then the white, let's just see how, oh, very nice. So I could imagine the white being very useful. I see a little bit of green transfer, but I think it's because I went over the wet area. And if I were to draw off, I'm not really seeing any of that transfer at all. I do hear a bead in there for shaking. So it says to shake to mix things up. So once they've been sitting, if you see any separation in your paint, you do want to give it a bit of a shake. And let me show you one here that might, on this side here, it's showing a bit of color separation. So once I shake it, and I hardly hear the ball in there, but then as I shake, I can hear it moving in there. And now you can see that that chamber is fully mixed. So that's nice to be able to see that before you go to use your color, to know whether or not it is fully mixed or if you need to give it a shake. I suppose if you've let them sit for a while, you'll want to give them a shake. And especially if they're laying horizontal, like it seems that they recommend that that's how that they should be stored. And then here, just a close-up to show you the coverage of the colors together. And I don't know if we were to bring in some water. Let me find a spray bottle here. If I were to just, I'm spraying off onto my glass mat here, just a spritz of water to pick up with my brush. And if I were to go back into this, once it's dry, it can move some. You can see on the end of the brush that I am picking up a little bit of color, and it is creating somewhat of a ghost look right there. but not really a lot of movement. So if we were, let's see, if we were to draw and quickly come in with water, can we move? We could probably soften the edge down a bit, I think. And yeah, get that to move while it's still damp. And I know I'm doing that with a light color. So let me grab a darker color here and see how that works. And I'm going to get a little bit more water because I just kind of used up what was there. All right, so here I'm good. Doesn't look like I need to shake. So I'm going to put this color down. You can see wet. I'm going to wet my brush in the water, and then I'm going to come in and I can blend out the edge a little bit. Actually a fairly good amount with the water. However, I am still seeing the edge here that I drew the paint down. I could also probably, running out of paper space here, but if I drew on my glass mat, could I pick up water, mix the color, and then carry that color over to my paper? And yes, that works, and you can see that it is much more translucent than coming straight out of the pen. So that's another way you could work with it. If you wanted to get a lighter variation of it, you could put it on like a Teflon sheet or a glass mat, palette, and pick up some with water and transfer to get a lighter variation of that paint.